Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All About Bingo panel, also known as your answer to why is everyone yelling, let's go bingo. I am scared, please help me. Today, we're going to talk about a really cool speedrunning format. If you don't know what bingo is, you're in for a treat. You might also notice that we have a contraption in front of us. We are playing a real-ass game of bingo. There are bingo cards. If you want to come play bingo, hey, hear that in the practice room? If you want to come play bingo, hang out in the panels room. We have bingo.
Please.
It's going to be fun. Please, please, please. But yeah, if you want to go next,
Sure.
we can all just introduce ourselves real fast. We all come from a background of organizing bingo events, so that's all our little tie together into this topic.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. I am shovelclaws. I use its pronouns. I'm a tournament organizer for Bomber Cyberpunk Speedrunning, which is a tournament that we hosted in October, going to December this past few months. I've been a participant in a lot of bingo events. I really like bingo. You'll know this about me if you know me personally. And I really, really like bingo as a format. I think it's a beautiful format with a bunch of really unique strategies that go into playing it. I'm a variety speedrunner, have been since late 2022 or late 2020, and I've done 4 GDQ runs. Yay, yippee!
Hi, my name is Lmjacks. I'm a lead admin and event organizer for Celeste Community Events. So I've been organizing bingo tournaments since 2020. We try to run a tournament about every month. And I've been speedrunning Celeste since late 2018 and playing bingo off and on not long after that. I commented a GDQ hotfix bingo tournament that we hosted a couple years back, and then also restreamed, played, and commentated many of the Celeste community events. One of my particular interests is balancing the competitive metagame of Lockout Bingo, which we will get into more later.
Yeah, hi, I'm Schlim. My pronouns are whatever two we're on just now, pick one. Also, they is cool. I'm a TO. I've done like IRL and online events. I also am a production wizard for VRC Bingo and a couple other things that either exist or don't exist anymore. Who knows? And then also I'm a speedrunning old head. I've been around for a long time.
Old.
I'm old.
Old.
Yeah, and also I have a hotfix show.
GDQ.GG/hotfix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GDQ GG hotfix.
All right, and with the introductions out of the way, we're going to roll our first few numbers. Check the numbers for me, Jack, please.
We've got 64.
64.
And 31.
31.
Okay, we're going to do 4 per slide.
37.
37.
And 21.
Congrats.
9 plus 10.
9 plus 10. Holy shit.
Yeah, we got 21, 37, 31, and 64.
Any markers in the chat?
A few markers in the chat. All right. So first and foremost, what is bingo? Bingo is a very cool format where you take a list of random objectives and kind of shove them on a card. You can see an example of a Tears of the Kingdom bingo board where you'll have stuff like collecting 50 arrows or grabbing Zelda's hand, Gerudo Canyon Tower, a variety of different objectives. Your goal is to collect those objectives in some formats. There are a lot of different ways that you can play bingo, and there are a very wide variety of of games that you can play bingo with. So it's a really dynamic format that kind of turns speedrunning to this really cool PvP or person versus game game that's really enjoyable. The easiest way to play bingo is through a website called BingoSync. BingoSync is a really simple and easy way to set up rooms and also start playing your own games. They have a wide list of game options that you can select from. There are also a few things that you can do to make it better. One of the big ones, one of the best ones, is BingoSync Plus. BingoSync Plus is a very easy to use browser extension that literally just like improves the site in a few key ways. Adds a game timer, adds a few more colors that you can pick from. It adds notably the option to rearrange the board and do different variants. It's a really cool way, or a really cool extension to just make BingoSync a little bit easier to use. And there's also a really wide array of online content about bingo. We run 3 tournaments. Come watch our tournaments. there's a lot of places you can watch bingo, including there are a lot of YouTube videos about it. You literally just search like game bingo. You'll find one probably. This one is a Minecraft video I watched recently. That's literally just a huge Minecraft bingo tournament. Minecraft bingo is kind of raw, by the way.
Minecraft Bingo is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Want to roll a couple more numbers?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Trying to go slowly so they don't just fall out and roll directly into.
That'll be good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it just happened.
Ooh, yeah, it did just happen.
It did just happen.
This cost me $20 on Amazon. Can you tell?
Can I have one?
You can have one.
Yeah.
A treat.
33.
I got a blank. God damn it. Why is this blank?
We've got 26.
And 63.
It's right next to 64.
I can't count. Leave me alone.
Alrighty, next up we'll get into a few slides about designing a bingo format. There's a lot of aspects that go into this.
Yeah, so of course, in order to play bingo, you need the way that you can play bingo. The easiest way to do this is just by getting a list of goals and formatting them into a JSON file. That's the code speak. You don't have to know that much about it. The easiest way is just writing stuff down and brainstorming ideas on how to actually format a game. So for me, when I design bingos, I try to get a focus on what the game's about. For example, in collectible-heavy games that aren't as linear, maybe a little bit more open, something like Celeste, where you have chapters that have a bunch of collectibles. You want to focus on those collectibles because you don't want just constant linear gameplay. You want it to be exciting and different from a standard any % game, right? And the more ideas you have, the generally better it'll be to make a bingo. I always aim for a minimum of 50 quality goals. I know that's a lot, but you can usually do it with just a few ideas. The thing that I really like doing is something called archetyping, where you have kind of this central core concept behind a goal, and you kind of extrapolate that into lists of items. So, for example, a set of collectibles, or you have bosses, and you just make a list of all the bosses, and those are all your individual goals, or unlocking characters, stuff like that. That said, it's really important to consider game state. You don't want a certain part of your bingo game to be too heavy one way or another, because that makes for less dynamic and less fun bingo games. This is one thing we'll all agree on and get mad at you if you do. Do not, under any circumstances, use speedrun strats as a goal. Don't have do blank skip as a goal. It's bad. Your skill expression in bingo should never be from barriering people who may be less skilled. The skill expression should come from routing and your tricks that you're doing in order to collect those things. So speedrun skips as goals, while may sound on paper kind of interesting, realistically you're just locking certain types of players out of being able to complete those goals, which ultimately won't be fun for them. They won't have a good time playing those bingos like that. Anything you want to?
Yeah, I was going to also mention that even if your game has collectibles and is full of collectibles, sometimes that might not be the best way to do your game's bingo. It just depends game to game. Like for Bugsnax, for example, right? The very first version was just like every single bug snack, like you can catch it, and then also some very like basic story stuff. But then it quickly changed to like becoming about doing quests and about doing a lot of macro routing instead of just getting particular like bug snacks.
Yeah, one common problem, especially for the lockout bingo format, which is where two players race to get 13 of the 25 bingo objectives, and once one player gets an objective, the other player can't tick it. A big problem for lockout is if there's too many fast objectives, because then the game can sort of snowball early, and one player just quickly takes all of the fast things, and the other one is sort of locked out of the game.
Mm-hmm. I will say one last thing. Playtest as often as you can. You will not know what is good about your bingo game until you start playing a lot of matches. Because of the nature of bingo, each card is randomized. You won't get every goal on every card. So you need to be able to play a lot in order to see what actually works and what doesn't. And don't be afraid to toss the stuff that doesn't work. Your game will just be better because of it. I know this was a big thing for us during Bomber Cyberpunk Bingo because the linear story progression of that game is really long-winded and also really difficult. It's a really high skill ceiling game. And so we wanted to try to avoid that by not having any linear story stuff and just focusing on one very specific niche, which it was our collectibles. And I think it wound up doing really well, and people really liked our bingo event. So
Yeah.
Alrighty, should we grab a couple more bingo balls?
let's go. Feel free to yell out numbers to distract us too. That'd be you can torture us. It's fine. All right. Treats for all of you, yummers.
Yummers.
First up, we've got 9.
I got 10.
Got 11.
Okay, interesting.
Oh, I'm not joking, by the way.
Yeah, this is real. I saw that 11 roll out. I was like, what are the odds on that? You're the math guy.
Small.
Okay, ooh, hope this helps.
Little odds, little odds.
It's small. Small, I'm scared. Leave me alone. All right. So what we're going to talk about next is generators. Generators are basically just what Bingo Sync uses to create boards. And there's a lot of really interesting in-depth stuff with this. This is my favorite part.
Randomized would be the simplest type of generator. So it takes basically just a simple list of objectives, and then it pulls 25 of those at random. This is probably the quickest way to get into testing if a bingo format is fun, but as you play more, you will find that it's very difficult to balance properly because those boards are completely random. So you can end up with boards that have, certain types of objectives very overrepresented. And when you run into issues like that, moving into something more complicated like the Isaac progression or generator system or SRL v5 would be preferred. So SRL v5 is probably the most common in highly played bingo scenes. It uses 25 tiers of objectives where objectives are sort of split into 25 buckets, and then one objective from each of those groups will be put onto a board. This creates the highest quality boards, but also you need to make sure that you've got enough objectives in each group so that boards aren't samey. Usually you're looking at about 100 plus, which again sounds like a lot, but if you add variations like Shovel was mentioning of archetype objectives, you can definitely hit that amount pretty quickly.
Yeah, for SRL V5, just imagine 25 small little bingo balls, and you roll one number, and then you toss the rest of them away. It's a really easy way to make sure that certain things are mutually exclusive, and that's what I really like about SRL V5. For Isaac's a little bit less complicated than SRL V5, but it achieves a very similar goal while using fewer goals in total. The idea is that you, instead of 25 tiers, you just have 4. But instead of tossing a bucket away once you take something from it, you keep it for a certain amount of rolls. And Isaac is a very kind of formulaic one. For example, the center square on any given board will always be from the same tier. So it'll always be the 4th tier. And it'll only pull 1 4 tier. So you want those to be very late game goals, like almost tiebreaker goals, right? And in order to make Isaac really fun, you need to have a lot of variety in your 3 bottom tiers, right? So if you have a lot of the same stuff in your first tier, the first tier is pulled from the most, and so your bingo will be pretty samey and pretty boring. You want to have a lot of variety there. The easy way to do that is with tagging, which I think we'll talk about during the next slide, but it's a really simple way to make a bingo just starting out. I think Isaac is a lot easier than randomized, but are a lot harder than randomized, but is a lot more consistent in quality, so you can get a better grasp on what actually works for your bingo versus what doesn't, just because randomized is so kind of hectic in what it can give you, which is a problem in some regards. Also, you can always just make your own stuff up. It doesn't have to be any of these 3. I know Jet Set Radio Future Bingo, which is something we all like, me and Limey like a lot.
We like it.
A little bit. Is a randomized with a algorithm to determine certain things about certain specific squares, which I think is very cool. You don't have to use any those main 3. Those are just what Bingo Sync supports.
Yeah, and when you use a custom generator, you can also do that to just enter a list of 25 objectives to make a custom board, completely independent from the normal generators that you'll find under games on Bingo Sync already.
Ooh, I forgot. Oh, my gimmick. Oh, my gimmick. Oh, my gimmicks. We got 19. 19.
How are they all shooting out?
I don't know. This $20 on Amazon.
Next up is 14.
Take it. Take it.
I thought you were gonna drop it in my hand. Okay,
Oh.
61.
Congrats.
Alrighty.
Is anyone close to a bingo, or we need to roll
Can you
more
guys like
numbers?
lift up your cards? I'm like curious.
Ooh.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah, they're kind of close.
we have a few.
Yeah,
That's okay. We've got a bunch of slides.
That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
we can
Okay.
roll 4.
Y'all
per
are doing
slide
a
instead.
bit better than I thought.
Loki thought y'all would be cooked. Not gonna lie.
yeah.
So up next, we'd like to talk a little bit about game progression. One thing that is really important to making bingo replayable is having sort of a progression of game states throughout the board. And so the best way to do that is, in a long-term sense, is using SRL v5 generators and using tiers to sort of establish different groups of objectives that will be done at a particular game state. So like we mentioned earlier, only one objective per tier can be on a board, which is very useful to, like, you can take a few tiers to say, all right, these are our early game objectives, these are our mid game objectives, and these are our late game objectives. And you can even group further than that and say, this one tier is specifically going to be for this one checkpoint in the game or something like that. So you always have some representation from certain areas, and you don't have over-representation of an area that would, you know, make boards too samey, and you get like 10 objectives from one spot.
Mhm.
And with that, you want your goals to take different amounts of time or effort, so that, you know, in early game stuff doesn't take too long, and players can still get access to other parts of the game without deviating, say, from like a 90% progression for too long. So having a range of those goals to help establish progression is really good.
Yeah, one thing we ran into with Bomber Cyberpunk Bingo is the very first area that you start in bingo matches. It also has 9 goals that can show up on the board. We don't want more than one of those on the board, so we literally just have it tiered, so where all of the goals in that one area all are in one spot, except for one goal that is like 2 minutes long and you never do it at the start of the game. But all 9 of those goals are just so fast, you'd literally click a square in the first 10 seconds of the game. So we want to avoid having like early game be really stacked, especially in BRC Bingo, because it takes like 10 minutes for a 1v1. So
Yeah, and with like BRC in particular, the way that it like works in the meta game is people just avoid that until later on, actually.
yeah, it's really interesting how it shook up.
Yeah, and I'd say also sort of loosely grouping stuff into early, mid, and late game also helps to prevent there being an overwhelming amount of options at any given time, where you're like looking at the board and just like kind of panicking and thinking, what do I do? If there's only a few things that are really viable at any given time, it helps to establish sort of a game plan, and your players can, you know, more accurately read the board and deduce a good way to play it.
Yeah, we aren't going to talk much about bingo strategy as a player because that changes from game to game and start to give specific strats. But when new players start playing bingo, the thing that usually gets brought up is there's so much to do on this board. I don't know where to start. Keeping in mind progression is a really easy way to ease people in because all you have to do is tell people, oh, yeah, how long would that take? That's it. Like, all you have to do, bingo is really just organizing timelines on a video track and realizing which one is the shortest and then doing that. Unless there's, you know, some alternative motivation to do something else, but usually not. I'm spinning this the wrong way.
I don't think you were.
No, that
No,
was the right
I was
way.
the right.
You
Okay.
just did it wrong.
I didn't do it wrong. It's RNG.
No.
This skip's literally RNG, dude.
How are you wrong half the time?
Ooh, good point. I hope this sounds really good on the mic, by the way. I get two treats. I'm greedy. This one was yours.
Yummers.
Yummers. I got 40 and 43.
Got 73.
And last up is 38.
Yippee.
All right, sort of building on to that last slide, balancing a bingo generator is sort of a continuous upkeep sort of thing. As your community begins to play bingo more competitively, it's likely that some flaws will come out. And oftentimes, a fundamental issue will be a lack of player interactivity. So if players are, choosing to not do a normal speed run and engage in a PvP format, that format should be conducive to players interacting with each other. So it's important to work with and discuss with experienced bingo players to identify, problematic objectives that may be too fast or too synergistic, where there's something that's just really strong and synergizes with other objectives. And then also game aspects where you can tweak the progression through your game or custom rule sets to add to the format. Generally just looking for anything you can do to improve player enjoyment.
Yeah, this goes back to playtesting often. That is always what I'm going to say first and foremost. Playtest as often as you can. Get people interested in your bingo game as well. Tell them it's going to be a fun time. Get some drinks and hang out and just play a bingo board and you both just play like shit. Who cares? The thing that is really important to me is interaction. Like Jack said, it's a PvP format. You want people to influence what each other are doing. That's the biggest thing of bingo. That's why it's so fun. Is if you're going against someone in a lockout format, they take a goal from you. That it feels like shit. What the hell? I'm resetting. It's the most fun you can do is outplaying your opponent in that way. And if your bingo isn't conducive to that, you have a really central problem, and that's really important to fix. That's the first thing you need to fix.
Yeah, we're going to be going back to this point a lot, but make sure that the player experience playing your game's bingo is just really good, because that is the main thing that will get people to stay.
Yeah.
Or get more people in.
1000%.
Yeah.
The worse player experience you have, the worse your bingo is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and correcting those problems can be done in a variety of ways. With SRL v5 generation, removing or retiering synergistic goals is often a good way to do that. So if there's a way that you could play one section of the game to get 4 or 5 goals quickly, that's generally pretty problematic for making a balanced match. And so if you tier those together into 1 or 2 tiers like I was talking about earlier, that helps to minimize the impact of stuff like that. And also, a goal that a player will never choose to skip is one that probably shouldn't be in the generator. We had problems with this in the Celeste generator for years. We had objectives that were super fast in the first chapter that players would really never want to skip because they only lost about 5 seconds. And you would just always race to get that right away. And then this sort of varies game by game depending upon what custom rule sets you apply. But if there are underplayed areas that are sort of skipped as a result of your rule set, you can sort of buff them by adding goals or maybe increasing the amount of synergy there or spreading the objectives out over more tiers. And then another option is introducing a new goal archetype that maybe affects different areas of the game differently. In Celeste, one option that we chose recently was to add key objectives, and there are a couple chapters in particular that have more keys, and we did that to sort of affect how often those chapters are played.
Yeah, in Sonic Adventure, the first 5 minutes is usually breaking a bunch of, doing a bunch of out of bounds skips and glitches to get yourself a bunch of fast points, and finding a way to snowball that. The problem with that strategy was that story progress usually is better because that opens you up to having a more total goals, which you don't generally want. That kind of duology of strategy was always really interesting to me. So this isn't necessarily this is always bad. It really depends on your game. In Sonic Adventure's case, that bingo worked really well because there was a trade-off in story progress versus getting all these fast goals and getting a bunch of early game points. There was a team in our bingo league that always went for the fast early game points, and they had just a few wins. I think they won 3 matches, and there were 10 matches total. And it was because that story progress was more important than they realized, and so they ended up just not being able to score very well in the late game. So this isn't necessarily end all be all. This is what you notice as problems and what your players report to you as problems. More numbers, yay! I love numbers. Who invented this number shit? I don't agree with it. Oh, you're just gonna reach across the table? You can't wait for me to. Okay.
I'm taking it because it was in the way.
Yummers. All right. Here, you can get the double treat this time, Jax. I'm not.
Yummers.
greedy.
I've got number 70 and number 35.
I got 15.
And I got 30.
Peace throwing his hands up. Why am I losing?
Can we get like a bingo card check again? Oh, that is like significantly closer.
Ooh, okay,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Some of y'all are cooking. Okay, I see, I see.
Okay,
I'll try
I get
to get a few of you that are falling behind. Okay, I rigged it. All right. Next up, let's talk about bingo gameplay mods, because this is stuff that I like. Modding games to improve bingo gameplay is really cool. There are a few reasons you might do this. For example, if your game is really linear, it might not make a great bingo game. We mentioned this some earlier, but bingo in BRC was really difficult to make because that game has chapter by chapter progression, which locks you out of certain goals. And so those goals you would just almost never do, and bingo matches would be massively inflated because of that. And the late game just wouldn't matter at all because you can sequence break a lot in that game. So non-linear or a story-based linear progression system would just be bad. So we got a community member, Ninja Cookie, to make True Bingo, which completely removes those boundaries and also removes a lot of like level geometry that was really annoying players. This goes back to making sure your players are having a good experience and adjusting your format in case they aren't. In order to kind of support that, we just removed the level barriers that needlessly blocked players and opened up a few shortcuts that you unlock by doing objectives, and that made the player's experience so much better. Took out a lot of dumb tricks that were really inconsistent, and it's all possible thanks to that mod. So modding is really great and can really make a bingo format pop. So like RNG is awful in bingo, frankly. I'll say it. I'm not a fan. Having to rely on a roll of a dice in what should realistically be a skill-heavy game in all regards is really frustrating, especially if you end up losing the goal of it. It's kind of funny for like 2 seconds, and then you're like, oh, that sucked. Improving multiplayer. So there are a lot of formats that do multiplayer formats. 2v2 lockout is a really popular one. And you can implement mods to make a co-op experience really great. That's JSRF Bingo right there, baby. They have original Xbox game from 2002 have a working co-op mod that lets you share progress between it. It is super cool. The players can sync up graffiti. They can sync up collectible grabs. It's amazing. It's so cool. It's one of the coolest bingo mods ever. And you can also fix a bunch of inconsistencies that are really annoying, which I think bingo shouldn't be annoying. It shouldn't be a struggle to play bingo. If it is, then you're doing something wrong and should aim to fix it.
And then the screenshot you see on the bottom right here is from the Celeste Bingo client. And this is a mod that made by Realmo that actually can display the bingo board in-game. So it hooks up to Bingo Sync, and then it automatically tracks progress of certain objectives. Like you can see there's sort of progress trackers on those winged berry objectives, 3-winged and 6-winged. And then it can show you when you have completed an objective and indicate that you can tick it. This is sort of the second bingo mod that we use in Celeste. The first one is Bingo UI, originally developed by Spirialis. And that one helps to track sort of collectibles and other miscellaneous things that aren't tracked natively in the game, and also allows for custom progression schemes. So like Shovel was mentioning, linearity is often a problem because, if one player gets behind and then they can't really catch up, the player ahead can sort of just do fast objectives and stay ahead. But introducing non-linearity in Celeste, we do that by allowing one assist skip, so players can choose to skip a chapter entirely, and then we have sort of branching paths where completing one chapter unlocks 2 chapters, and then reflection can be skipped entirely because there's just not a lot going on there. So introducing options like that with your bingo mod can be really valuable to sort of making the especially mid and late game of a match more dynamic and interesting.
Yeah, one thing that I think Bingo Client is great is you can hide your status in the game by not marking objectives, but the Bingo Client will do it for you. That's really sick. On the opposite side of the spectrum, True Bingo automatically marks your goals as soon as you pick them up. You can't strat hide. Oops, sorry. It really comes down to your game and what it needs. And I think that's the really great thing about mods is since you're the community members, you get to lead the charge and decide what is good for your game. It is fantastic. What was that? Right, okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, there's a mystery prize.
Yeah, there is a mystery prize if you win bingo. It's a mystery, and you haven't seen it yet. Limey,
can I have double?
you can have double Limey. Ooh. Okay,
Yummers.
there you go.
I have 36 and 16.
I have 57.
And last up for this round is 28.
Is there anyone that's still like super behind? Not anymore? Okay.
Peas, you're kind of cooking now. You have 3 in a row.
Yeah.
You have 3 in a row. Look. Yeah, I'm going to put this video on my resume as like a bingo card reader. I think that'd look really good. This is not my bread and butter, so
Ooh,
I'll let you two
yeah.
talk about this
It's
stuff.
time for me. Yeah, so this is all about TOing and like organizing bingo events because obviously you're creating this bingo in your game and players are loving it, right? What if we have a competition? What if we
Do
want to
something cool with it, please.
Please,
We want to see more
we
bingo.
want to see it, please. But yeah, in terms of actually running like bingo tournaments, it's not too difficult. You just need like obviously a player base because if you don't have very many players, you won't have very much content. Your tournament won't last very long. Even if it's just like 6 to like 10 players, that's plenty. Just don't try and run anything with like 2 because then you're just gonna be streaming scrims for like 3 hours every day.
You can do that. Just do it on your own channel and don't brand it a bingo event, okay?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. You can do whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah, and then obviously like a Discord or some type of group chat for all of the players and TOs to communicate. And then a document with rules. Like for BRC Bingo, that was the first thing that Shovel did.
Yeah.
And also the only thing for a while.
Okay, be nice.
Okay.
Cooking me for no reason.
Okay, my bad. But yeah, like obviously there needs to be like a final-ish list of goals and set of rules and everything that you'll need to be able to play the bingo. And TOs or volunteers to help like make sure the players are following the rules and matches can actually be played. You don't totally need like a totally like produced live stream or anything, but it does help, especially as someone who might not play your game, watching like this live stream, even if it's just 2 Discord screen shares with like 1 TO on mic, just like talking about the gameplay. Like that's so chill.
It really depends on what you want from the event. If you want viewership, then, you know, you find talent for it.
Yeah,
But-
exactly. But it doesn't even need like a lot of polish. That's something that can come later. I'm pretty sure the next slide is about that anyways.
Yay. Transitions, baby.
Yeah. And then I'm making sure I didn't miss anything because I'm just rambling.
Ooh, we didn't
Yeah, and then just
practice.
make sure all your players are sportsmen. Like sometimes with competitive events, that is like a problem with some players. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's speedrunning as well. Like everyone here is like super chill, super kind. So I don't
Yeah.
think it'll be that much of a problem.
That's the one thing. Make a rules document. It'll help. It did pay off. Limey cooked me for no reason, but it worked.
It did pay
helped.
off, yeah. You can roll, yeah.
I didn't. I wasn't looking for your permission.
Well, yeah, but you were just sitting there.
I was sitting there because you stopped talking. Ooh, cooked dice win.
Okay, I'm getting cooked.
All right.
One more for the road.
One more for the road. You want another double? This one fell. We can do 5. Who cares?
Yeah, we can do 5. We can do
Wait, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do 6. Let's all get a double. Who cares anymore? If I get a blank, I'm upset.
First up is 55. And then we've got 71.
Anarchy. Okay, twin. We got 52 and 5.
We got 25 and 45.
Not yet. Okay, we'll let it. We'll
I'm
leave it
hearing
at
some
11.
bingo excitement.
Any bingos yet?
Yeah.
If you get a bingo, call
Card
it
check,
out.
please. Please, a card check. Is that one
Ooh,
off?
we've got a
2
couple
off?
Oh,
people
yeah,
that are
people
one
one
off.
off. Uh-oh.
Oh, there's a few people
Okay,
one
it's
off.
close. It's close.
Yeah,
Alright.
this is actually contentious.
This game
I-
sucks, Peas. You're not rocking with bingo? Leave. Get out. Get out.
I can't believe he doesn't rock with the retirement home.
That's messed up. This is the speedrunning retirement home. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
But yeah, getting back to what I was saying, broadcasts don't need to be super polished or super like technical or anything. They could be super basic. You should be focusing on the experience of the participants first, because that's what's most important, right? Next season, you won't get any participants if they don't have fun. The people watching the stream, they can complain all they want. It doesn't matter, right? You can make that better as you get better at running events, but like that's not the first thing that needs to, come up. For bingo streams, you can use OBS Studio. Don't use Streamlabs, please. Like, begging you, don't.
Unless they sponsor us.
Yeah, unless they
No.
sponsor us, and then
No.
sometimes you can use it.
You're not rocking with Streamlabs.
No.
You don't.
Okay.
You're not. Okay. Moral man here. Okay. BRCSR is looking for sponsors though.
I'm sorry, money talks. You can use Streamlink and VLC, so you can capture those streams, or you can, like I said, use like a window capture on Discord. You can use anything that works, but that's just what I use. And you can use Stream Meta, Stream Control, or NoteCG. Those are all just scoreboard keeping software. Usually they're for like fighting game tournaments, but you can easily repurpose stuff like that for bingo, because it's very, very similar anyways, right? Mm-hmm. All you need to do is slap a timer on there, slap the bingo board on there somewhere sometimes.
Yeah, this all might sound like a lot for what it's worth, and it is, because this is really in the scope of our. We can't teach you how to make events. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not within an hour, anyways. But like, there are people in your community who might be able to, and that's why player experience is so important. Is you might be able to find people who can do that for you. That is literally how BRC speedrunning events started.
Yeah.
This guy just knew.
Because I'm a wizard, and Shovel was like, dude, I want to do this, and I'm like,
I was very normal about bingo for a while. I still am. Can you tell? I did a panel about it. But yeah, it's like a really complicated world to dive into, but it's a lot of fun. This my first event producing was our bingo season, and it was like a killer time. It was just really great. So take the plunge. It's fun.
yeah. And if you want more resources on getting started with like speedrun event like broadcasting and stuff, last SGDQ, I think it was, there was a panel that I was also on that was like how to make a speedrun event from scratch. There's a whole like 30-minute tech section that me and Varan did together. Oh my god, there's a lot of information, but it is super useful. Some of this information is exactly the same because it is timeless information.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't even have to do anything super technical. It's like just be resourceful with what you got and it'll be good enough.
Anarchy, you are the most excited.
I think
for
we're running
this.
up 6 again because we're like so close to the end.
Running up 6.
We're running up 6.
Let's do one at a time.
Okay, yeah, one at a time.
Here, you can go first, production
Okay,
wizard.
I'm going first. 32.
Any 32s? 59.
Oh, there's looks of despair.
And last
Go
up
across
is
the room.
8.
Bingo!
Bingo?
We got. Are you lying? No. Cap, bring it up.
Come here.
We're
Bring it up.
checking
Bring it up.
All right. You got a diagonal. That's crazy.
Diagonal is great. Let's go bingo.
All right. 8,
Yep, we just got 8.
30,
I remember that from earlier.
Yeah, and then there's 55.
55,
Yep.
63.
There we go.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, and
my
free space.
God.
Clap it up,
Anarchy.
clap it up.
Clap it up.
Clap it up.
Congrats on winning bingo. Anarchy, I'm sorry.
Supreme bingo winner.
I paid $20 for this thing. Your grand prize is this bingo wheel. You get to enjoy the true wonders of bingo. Please take it. Please take it. Please take it. Please take it.
There's not enough room in its carry-on.
For what it's worth. Ooh,
Ooh, you can check a bag. You're GDQ staff.
Yeah, right. This thing costs $20 on Amazon, 20 MSRP. So resell it on Facebook Marketplace or something. It's yours. I take it, please.
That's like a Jersey Mike's right there.
That's a
Yeah,
Jersey
yeah.
Mike's. Real spill.
But yeah, anyone with any questions, feel free to
There we go.
come up and complain to us or whatever.
Do we have a mic for questions?
I can also just flip mine around. Worst case, it's whatever. Any question havers.
I'm looking at the production guy. He's giving me eyes. No, you're good.
No, you're good.
fine.
Question in the
Question?
front row?
Just small curiosity. What generator does Celeste?
The question was, what generator does Celeste Bingo use? We use a slightly modified version of SRL v5 to slightly tweak how objectives are pulled from tiers and populate the board. And we actually have a custom site, celestebingo.relmo.io, which has some more customization options than the default Bingo Sync. So you can do like custom board sizes. We've implemented a fog of war feature. So it only starts with one objective visible, and you reveal objectives on the board. That's fun, along with some other options.
Yeah, there are a lot of cool bingo variants that Celeste likes to do. They have this series on Celeste community that I fuck with heavy called Bingo Museum.
Museum of Bingo.
Yeah, Museum of Bingo is
We-
it hurts my
It's
brain.
Funny as hell.
Our community has established like a ton of weird ways to play bingo, and we have them submit variants every year, and we pick like 10 of them to play over a weekend. It's a lot of fun.
I
Yeah.
want to ask you something because we were talking about this earlier. Isn't there like you were talking about some variant that was like one person or it was like a 2v2 or whatever, and they were playing and routing for each other or something?
So,
How does that work?
do you want me to take this? Because I think I might know this better than you.
Sure. Which one? There's like 4 of those.
There are
variants.
four.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
The idea is Katango, where you route for someone who is playing a bingo game, and it's funny. You can make it so much worse. The thing that Limey is talking about that we were talking about earlier that's really funny is rotationally symmetric Katango. If you don't know what that word means, you're free to leave. It's okay. I don't blame you. This is getting scary. I know.
No, let's just move on. More questions, please.
Any question havers? Any comment
It doesn't
havers?
look like anyone has questions. I'm talking about rotationally
Oh
symmetric
my
Katango.
gosh.
Ooh, okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Satan saved us.
So, of course, my brain's going to Peggle as it always does.
Right,
It's going to Peggle Extreme, we run in that.
right,
And the thing is, that game's too small.
right.
But we also have a bunch of other little games and little things within other Peggle games that, if combined, you could definitely have enough points. Have you seen like multi-game bingo before? And like, what's the smoothest way to sort of do that?
The question was, have you seen multi-game bingo before, and what's the smoothest way to sort that out? Yes, usually as like YouTube clickbait content, low-key though. But as an actual idea, I don't think it's too bad. My concerns there would be, how do the games interact with each other? Because it's kind of boring if one player just like plays one game and clears it, right? You need to have the balancing be really on point for that, and you need to make it so it's worth abandoning mid-game in order to do another game. That's my concern. My idea there would be some form of linear progression gating. Kind of similar to Celeste, like you have to clear X amount of levels until you can move on, or you can stay and do goals past that. But then you need to get into tagging where you exclude, or certain things are excluded from each other because they are tagged a certain way, where you have like late game goals show up guaranteed for that by putting them into their own tier with their own tag, right? But I don't think it's a bad idea. I know Sonic Adventure 2 does Hero Dark Story in one board, and you have 2 players play both stories. So it's not a bad idea. I think it could work. You just need to be careful about like having people have an incentive to abandon mid-game.
I think it could also be sort of a variant of generic bingo, which is sort of a mode on Bingo Sync where it's objectives that aren't from any one game. It'll be like clear a water level or get, like, I don't actually know many of the objectives in it, but it's sort of generic things that you can do in any game, and it allows for hopping between games. There's less progression with something like that, but yeah, if you're playing with a smaller family of games, you can definitely work with that to implement some sort of system that works.
Yeah, shout
to
out
create cool
generic
matches.
bingo. It's really cool. It's really fun because you'll get an orange and you're playing like Call of Duty? Question mark? How do you do that? You just have to like make shit up. It's really funny. Ooh, question.
Ooh, question.
Right. I'll repeat the question. The question was, is there a good way to find the logic that BingoSync uses and we use for our BingoSync game in something like a modded client in order to have logic in our bingo game? Yes, BingoSync is entirely open source. You can go in, make your own fork of stuff. That's what Celeste does. It's really cool. You can see basically all of the code of it. So I can't point you specifically to logic stuff that is beyond my comprehension. I just do funny words in a text document and put that into a file generator. I'm sorry, but maybe someone else can.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I know the answer is yes.
The
I just
answer
don't
is
know.
yes.
I don't know the long answer, but the short answer is yes.
Yeah.
That's just something that, like, if you don't know how to do that, you'd have to find someone who knows how to do that, and it might take a bit.
Yeah. I have a curiosity question in response. What's your bingo event? I watched that the other day. Keep at it. That shit's hype. I don't know anything about Rain World, but that shit's hype. I like it. Any other questions? Pretty please. And everyone's gone. Unlucky.
Are repeat objectives ever a problem, like especially in tournaments?
What do you mean repeat objectives?
Like getting the same objective on different bingo cards.
Oh,
In
okay.
different matches.
Yeah, in different matches.
So the question was if getting the same objectives on multiple boards is a problem. I would say no for a tournament structure. It's good to have enough objectives so that boards don't look the same and you have a ton of repeat objectives. But in general, the value of an objective can often change a lot depending upon what else is on the board. So even if you have a couple of the same objectives, it can play a lot differently depending upon what other stuff is surrounding it. And I think it's fine.
Yeah. During Bomber Cyberpunk Bingo, I think from a viewer experience standpoint, it can get boring. That's my main concern. But if you're not a produced event, that's not something that you need to worry about. The player experience, generally, it really depends on how dynamic it is, like Jack said, and if it can be routed in a dynamic way. That's kind of the whole of bingo is like everything you need to consider that. So bad answer, but
Yeah, I mean, the longer answer of that is, like, I know for a fact that, like, at BRC Bingo, there's, like, a few goals that have been in, like, most of, like, the playoff matches, for example.
Yeah.
But they're all routed in differently every time, so it's not ever that bad.
yeah, the main concern is like what is over centralizing, and if you don't have something that's over centralizing, then it's probably fine. Any more questions?
There's a surprisingly low amount of questions, and I think that we did a good job explaining what we wanted to explain.
I think Loki, this was a high amount of questions. I was expecting not many.
I was expecting, like, 8.
Look, I'm glad people are into bingo enough to ask questions. I like it, but
I do rock with it, yeah.
if we don't have any last minute ones,
All
I
right.
think that's a wrap. Thank you for coming out. We have some quick shout outs we'll go through.
You can find me on Lmjacks on every platform, and then the events I run are on Celeste Community.
Yeah, go check out those links. Celeste Community, one of the GOATs. It's like a great bingo event, great any percent tournaments. It's also Celeste, so like,
It's sick,
Lamau, what are
yeah.
you doing? Go watch it.
We are actually in the middle of a cycle of bingo events right now.
Go watch it.
We've got sort of 4 general skill tiers in our community, and the advanced tournament will be coming up in 2 weeks here.
Or go play
followed
it.
by the expert tournament a couple weeks after that.
Yeah, Celeste Bingo is really fun, so, vouch. I'm shovelclaws, and you can find me everywhere, shovelclaws. You can find the links. Also, shout out twitch.tv/JSRFBingo. Unfortunately, we had one panelist that couldn't show up today because they they got the flu on Saturday. And so
Yeah, it was like
that
the day
really
before the
last
event.
minute,
Yeah.
which sucks. Rest in peace, twinkachu, goated name. And they run JSRF Bingo, and they contributed a lot to this slideshow as well. So don't want to go unmentioned. Go follow twinkachu, and also go follow JSRF Bingo. Really, really fantastic production. I cannot understate enough. JSRF Bingo is what inspired BRC SR.
Yeah.
And we would be nothing without them.
Yeah, low key, we got stuff in the works that are like combined effort, which is super
Yeah,
cool.
we're
It's like,
open.
we're like one event old, and they're like
6.
6.
Or 7. It depends if you count pinball. But
I count pinball.
I count pinball.
Yeah. And then I'm Limey on like everything. Limey_SR most of the time. Sometimes it's Libga. And then also final shout out for gdq.gg/hotfix, or if you want to type out more characters, gamersarquick.com/hotfix.
Ooh, fewer characters better. Not
Yeah.
final shout out. Shout out to BRCSR. You can follow us on Twitch and find all our VODs on YouTube. Bomber Cyberpunk is a really cool bingo game too. I'm a vouch really hard. Also, we put a lot of work into that event. Please come support us for season 2. Thank you.
And of course, thanks to GDQ for letting us put this panel on.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yay, yippee. And thank you for watching.